the AFL to choose a venue that made the league the most money. With that pointing towards Perth, what's been your reaction to Brisbane getting the gong for the big day?
Yeah, no, the first part of my response was the venue that serviced the most people. And obviously that was going to have to be an arrangement with state government, with their attitudes towards what type of crowd they were going to allow in each of their stadiums. I'm not sure exactly where it's got to with the Queensland government in terms of crowd. And then obviously the financial situation for the AFL will obviously remain with them. But I think the AFL have made some pretty good calls this year to keep the competition running, to obviously be able to move us around the country throughout the season, throughout the year, to the point where it looks like we are, getting closer to be able to finish it without another break. So they've done particularly well. I think the Queensland government needs to be acknowledged and appreciated for their role in the AFL's capacity to get its season so far down the track. And it's only it's a bit of karma, I suppose, that this is how it's played out, and and sort of fitting that they are rewarded as a state that's helped the code this particular year, that they get the reward of the finals as well.
And is there a feeling, Bucks, that anywhere, anytime, as long as we're in it?
Yeah, well, I think that's a prevailing attitude of all successful teams or groups of people, is that they'll find a way to make the best of any circumstance that they find themselves in. We evacuated from Victoria, moved to WA, then across to Sydney, and then up to Queensland pretty quickly. So we were able to settle, and the Gabba's our home ground now. We've played the last 4 games there, and we play an away game against Brisbane, but we're pretty comfortable at the venue. Already, mate, too easy.
Hey, Bucks, Josh Dacos is one of the success stories of the year. He's really come on. Tell us a bit about him, and did you see this in him even a couple of years ago?
He's always had great talent, like his kicking skills in particular, but all of his disposal has always been at a very high level. Last year his kicking efficiency was actually down, and that's not a measure of skill as such. It's a measure of being able to handle the level and the pressure and the speed of decision making that's required. He's always been a young fella who's thought really well on his feet, but he's found an extra half step now and been able to get used to the pace of the game. And as soon as that occurred, and he had some really good moments over the last couple of years, but as soon as he's been able to do that consistently and find that belief in himself and the confidence that he can find time and space with the football in particular, we've seen him rise to another level again. Fitting into a team structure and being disciplined around that is something that has really been a strong point of his season this year, and it was something that was building over the last couple of years, and we now have a really good balance of him being predictable to his teammates, but then letting his strengths shine, and showing that creativity that we know that all Dacoses possess. So it's been a really positive and gradual build and development from a young player. And I think we get a little bit carried away sometimes. We think that things need to happen quicker, or just because they're the son ofs that it's absolutely going to happen. There's no guarantees in anything at the elite level, and Josh has made his own way and deserves all the credit because he's put a lot of work in. He had a ripper pre-season. The last 2 pre-seasons have been really strong, and he's reaping the rewards of that. Yeah, look, he was a part of a forward line that functioned a little better, and as I've said consistently, it functioned better because our supply was a little bit better as well. yeah, look, Jaden, I think when you get good supply, then you can go to work in your contest winning and your strengths can come to the fore. So we saw that. He and we would like him to kick a little straighter and take his chances when he gets them. But we saw him centre that ball into Coxie at the end of the third quarter, which was an important bit of play for us. And that's just growth and development. He's a young man that likes to hit the scoreboard. He believes in himself. And there are percentage plays at different times. So yeah, and the back with the flight in the last quarter was a good sign for us. So yeah, we were happy with his performance, and he's fairly hard on himself as a young fella, but we hope that is the sign of things to come and the trend goes up.
How was Chris Main from through the surgery?
Yeah, well, Maney's a sore boy. He can be a finicky type at the best of times, and he needs to be looked after at the moment. He can't be sleeping on the right side of his face. It's tended to touch and looks pretty sore as well. The point of the shoulder got him right on the cheekbone, so he's going to take a little while for that swelling to settle. He's run that bit of play through 100 times in his own mind, and worked out why he was so high, making sure that he tried to get the ball. We wasn't sure whether Cripps actually had possession of the ball. I mean, if you talk to Maney, you spend a half an hour on exactly all the things that were going through his head in that split second, and it just didn't work out for him. In 14 years of footy, it's the first time he's sort of had a facial fracture, and if you're long enough in the game, you're going to put yourself in positions like that. But his teammates love the fact that he is on the spot all the time, and it's just one of those things that happens in football, and we'll give him time to rest and recuperate. He did say to me a couple of hours ago that he'll be right to go pretty soon. So, but we will give him that time.
Is it something you think that could inspire the team, not just obviously for the second half last week, but potentially for the rest of the season and acts like that? I mean, I saw a few guys straight after the game jump online and sort of tweet, and show their support for him.
Yeah, look, I think that's just, Andrew, that's a sign of the connection that we have as a group, and that's what's going to take you, wherever you go, in a season or in a career or with a group. Maney's, he's come in, he's connected with his teammates. They are quite open and transparent and authentic with one another. They're prepared to take their masks off and have honest conversations about all manner of things, not just footy. And Maney's been, one of the guys that's prepared to be open and trust his teammates and be trusted. And on field, you just know that you're going to get the best from him every time. Immediately after that, there was a ball up, and Tyler Brown, who was playing his first game for a while, is a young player. It's always interesting to see how players react when there's been a bit of a contest or a bit of push and shove potentially. There's a bit of angst or there's a bit of adrenaline flowing through the veins to see what that next contest looks like. And Tyler Brown hunted the ball like a madman, which shows us what he's made of as a young player as well. So, there's lots of little occasions that you want to highlight to reinforce the way that you want to be, and it's better to show actions than words or to talk about it. So. Maney lives it and breathes it, and we feel that everyone on their day and in their moment is going to do the same.
Bucks, have you settled on a replacement for Maney? Is it Sharon or a Bucko or something?
No, we haven't. But we had a sort of our one session today. Had a bit of a run around, but we've got a lot of boys that are ready to go. It's just a matter of how we want to set up the balance of the side. We'll have a bit more of a look at Brisbane this afternoon and make that determination by tomorrow.
We talk a lot about the apologies. We talk a lot about the physical health of your squad and your players, etc. Potentially ad nauseum. How are you going assessing the mental health of not only the players but your whole footy club at the moment? How are the coping skills, and how's that sort of stacking up against how you might have expected 3 or 4 months ago?
Yeah, well, I think Jay we have had our moments, individually and collectively over the last 3 or 4 months, and I don't think we would expect it to be linear. Like you can get ground down and get to the point where it's just hard to find that motivation and purpose. And purpose is so important in what you're doing. And we talk about it a lot. And you can't expect that it's just going to be linear upwards either. That you're just going to continue to get comfortable and grow and grow. Wins and losses have an impact. There's no doubt about it. But we've ground out a period where I reckon we were struggling on the field, and it was reflective of some challenges that we had off the field, and nothing in particular, but just realisations of where we're at, of being away from home, of loved ones back in Victoria being locked down and going through the reality that they're going through. Sometimes it's form, sometimes it's not knowing what 2021 looks like. We've dealt with a lot of these, what would seem like, small issues, but when you add them all up, they are quite significant in the individual psyche and therefore in the group psyche. I think we're in as good a nick as we've been this year. To be honest, we're really positive about putting some good footy together and building some belief in our on-field performances is an important part of it. But the connection that we've been able to tip into the more positive aspects of our existence and the opportunities within it, being able to focus on that's amazing, and giving to each other. It's amazing how you can build that team dynamic, and we're in a stronger position now as we've been all year. Oh, good, mate.
So, Gus, you feel like you're through that sort of that lull that you've had, or the run you had, for the past month with the win on the weekend, and moving towards your better footy.
Yeah, the rut didn't last for a month. Obviously, there's always external opinion on what the on-field product looks like, and there's no doubt that the physical demands of that compressed period for us were quite extreme. There's other sides that are going through it at the moment. And as I said at the time, I didn't think that the analysis of performance was that nuanced from the outside. But the reality is that we've faced that. Any time you go through a tough period, it generally builds resilience if you're prepared to see it as a learning opportunity, as a growth opportunity. So it's not the easiest attitude to take when you're in the moment, and you can always reframe it when you're out of it. But look, I think we are better for it. We've got quite a healthy squad at the moment. Some boys that have been out and haven't been able to contribute as much on field, are starting to get to the tail end of their rehabs, and potentially I'm talking about Sire, Reid, DeGoey, Treloar. Those guys are potentially, going to be able to impact over the next month at different stages. So, we feel like we're in good shape. We're sort of not looking back as much, but we're right now in this moment. We're pretty confident about where we're at and about what we're in control of going forward.
And Jeremy Howe, Nathan, what's his progress?
How he's working away. He started running, and there was vision of him running probably about a month ago. He came back off that. He just needed to get a little bit more leg strength. In the end, he's going hard. He's pushing really hard to get himself there. He knows it's a race against the clock. Where we are as a team is going to impact on the probability of him being able to get back. He's looking after his side of things, and we'll attempt to look after ours.
Nathan, you haven't lost against Brisbane since 2014. Do you feel like you match up pretty well with them?
What I will say about Brizzy is we really respect them as a football team. I think what they've been able to build in the last couple of years is pretty impressive. and they've they've got a really energetic, dynamic style of football that that brings the strengths of their individuals into play. So I've got a healthy regard for the club and how they've gone about it in the last couple of years under Fags, and we know that we'll have our work cut out. But as I said, internally we're really confident about where we're tracking and how we're tracking, and looking forward to the challenge of Friday.
Buckley, coming in off a fairly long break that bye last week, a long time between drinks, do you feel a breaking momentum can be detrimental when you're on a run, or having all those games close together as that?
Of course, I think the advantage is with us. We're hardened, and we haven't had that many short breaks. I mean, we've had our last, so this is 9-6, and we go a 5 into this. It's a bit different to 4-5-4. So we felt like a 6-day break, which in previous years is a short week. Felt like forever. So 5 days feels about normal. Our boys are up and about. We feel like we're in really good order. We've played efficient footy in the last couple of weeks, and the proof will be seen in the game itself and on the other side of the result. I mean, you can talk about physical condition and lead in as much as you like. Sometimes it's an excuse and sometimes it's a reason. But for us, we'll be more than ready. We're cherry ripe and ready to go.
Max, obviously, sorry, mate, you go.
No, I was just saying, Max, with your history in Brisbane and now this grand final announcement here, do you think there's going to be an expectation from Queenslanders on the Lions to actually perform, get there, try and reach it? Do you think that's an expectation, an added expectation that they'd be able to, that they'd be wearing?
Well, the 7 months that I had here 20 odd years ago, 25 years ago,
I know, I'm delving back.
There wasn't a lot of expectation from the Queensland supporters about the Brisbane Bears at that point. And I think that was debunked and shifted and changed. It wasn't so much an expectation, but all of a sudden people wanted to connect with and identify with the AFL team from Brisbane that kept winning titles. So I think that whenever a state, and there's a lot of expat Victorians that are up here, and over generations that breeds a little bit more support for the AFL as you go along. So I think there's there'd be a lot of hope from the Queenslanders that a team from their state is up and about, and Brisbane's sitting third at the moment, and they played finals last year. So I've got no doubt that there'd be some expectations from the Queensland faithful and clearly the Brisbane supporters that they would be thereabouts, and they're doing everything in their power to do that.
Max, obviously a fair bit of work and thinking goes into the plan to get Howie, Geordie and Adam back sort of just before finals or towards the end of the home and away season. You're confident in that plan that they can transition back into the team? They're obviously three key players. Potentially that may not be seen as an easy thing to do.
It's not something we can do right now, Jay, or spend that much time. And the best laid plans go awry. Sometimes they go better. What I would say to that is that the 22 that we've got taking the park at the moment is we're really happy and comfortable with. As I said straight after the game of the weekend, and I mean, once again, the reporting of that game was that Carlton were poor. They played some pretty good footy leading into us, and we believe that we were coming up against a side that were cherry ripe and playing really well. So we're really happy with the performance of last week to be able to win that game. And we think that we're trending in the right direction, and we're really happy with how our game's coming together. We know it'll be challenged and tested by a really good side on the weekend. And whoever of our personnel is available in the coming weeks, we'll make those judgments accordingly. But as I have said, they're working away. They're in mini pre-seasons at the moment to get themselves right, and when they're right to go and we think they can make us better, they'll come in. And if they can't, we're pretty happy with our lot.